If you do not know who I am, my name is Shanice Frail, and I am the facilitator or birther of Sincerity School, which is an educational model which is transferable and has global intention for AuDHD children and teenagers. We are creating a school model and educational process and method that can be shared around for everyone for free, and it is all funded by um, public generosity and is a grassroots team of people that are all community volunteers, and we are making this happen right in real time. So you are watching that journey right now. But as we go, I am sharing the things that we're developing and what's happening. Now, I'm sort of heading up stuff at the moment, but again, I can't take credit for everything because there's a really amazing group of people around me who have beautiful ideas and concepts, and they're helping me with the development of the curriculum right now. I'm also looking for people to come in who are not just educators, those who have life experience and understanding of neurodivergence. And it's really, really special, right? It's really nice what we're doing. And what is being developed here right in front of your eyes has not been done before, not been discussed before, and is being shared so everyone can either contribute or apply in their own lives. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the work that's been done recently, right? And take you to the latest stuff, right? And we're looking at the body-mind connection in more detail here. Hopefully you can see that. AuDHD in the nervous system, the body-mind connection, which is phase 3 connection with the world. Now, just to recap, the body-mind connection is the stages that the AuDHD child goes through for full educational, personal liberation, right? And it's connection to self, connection to others, and connection to the world. And it's maintaining a connection between the body and the mind throughout the whole of their educational experience, so they will evolve comfortably, happily for long-term health, happiness, and well-being. Okay, so just to recap on that, the body-mind theory, right? The body-mind theory behind this is that this is how the AuDHD child naturally evolves, given their sensitivity, given the way their nervous system works. It's an integration of the doctrine of autonomic space and the theory of just neuroscience, and also the theory of learning that is involved in their highest and most powerful development. So one is connection to self, two is connection to others, three is connection with the world, and I want to talk about that with for a second, right? Once they get to the point where connection to self is demonstrated as healthy and safe, connection to others is also demonstrated as healthy and safe. And then they get to connection with the world. There's an emergent sense of belonging, right? So their experiences are predominantly positive, and they're able then to use their body connection, especially the emotions, to inform their choices. And we're developing an education system that allows that choice development to determine and drive their education. So where they learn and how they learn is coming from within themselves. And I'm going to talk about that in more detail today. So what is the world to the AuDHD child? Initially, because of the AuDHD child being very, very sensitive, the word is a whole bunch of noise and information and overload. So they begin lives in a state of avoidance, defense, or attack. Let that land. Right. At first, the AuDHD child experiences the world as something scary, busy, and requiring avoidance, attack, or control. It is too much for them, so they turn inward and they cannot experience the world for the reality that it is. They cannot experience it as something that is co-creative, that is personal to them, that is positive. All of this is directly related to one simple thing, the body-mind connection. It is learned and not natural to the AuDHD child. So I want to make this very clear, right? The AuDHD child comes into the world highly sensitive, and because they are not understood from their internal experience, the world is then too loud, too overwhelming, and quite cruel. It teaches them that they must change, that there is something inherently wrong with them, and that the only way to cope with that really, really kind of despondent message is to develop unhealthy coping mechanisms that are then directly assumed to be their natural state, and they're not, right? So we train the AuDHD child out of their natural state, which is open, receptive, and very, very, very attuned to learning. It's just a different way of doing it, right? So we allow the child's experiences to be shaped by their preferences early, so they experience and learn from themselves and others safely in unobstructed, trusting, and pleasingly stimulating environments. And the body-mind connection will expand and evolve then naturally. Children are naturally designed to learn from themselves. Let that land a second. Sit with that a minute. Given the education we're used to, it doesn't often get heard. Children are naturally designed to learn from themselves. Their body's connection is their first point of information. The emotions are positive information in healthy environments. Okay. By designing children's learning from the focus on the body-mind connection and its three stages, self, other, and the world, we support neurologically, emotionally, physically, and psychologically exactly how AuDHD children naturally learn. The body-mind connection, self, others, and the world is what I've been describing over the last number of videos. It's learning naturally from within oneself. And to summarize this, from within themselves, they grow. From within themselves, they know. From within themselves, they glow. Right? And this is the way that they then start to express based on the honoring of those stages. The symbol of the star with a flower at the center is not an accident. That's the symbol of the Sincerity School as a whole. And Sincerity School is honoring this blossoming, right? Where the star represents the outward expression of information and the outward expression of information that the child interprets to lead their own learning. And consequently, then a blossoming that occurs from within them that is organic, natural, and quite fragile as well, thus the flower image. So how is intelligence developed? This is important to understand for all of this to start to make sense, because what I'm saying is directly in opposition to the education that we're used to, right? We're used to top-down education, and I'm gonna kind of dig into that now. So here's where intelligence is misunderstood in current education systems. Intelligence already exists. It is inherent in all children, right? Top-down teaching and educating physically, emotionally, and psychologically in this way drains and depletes the AuDHD child who is naturally very open. So they're wide open with all their screens open if they're a computer, all their lights on. And when we top-down teach to them, filling them full of information, we actually start to flatten their natural intelligence. They're attempting to deal with an enormous amount of input, and that input overwhelms their system and puts them into survival mode, right? And survival mode means that their response is disorganized and stressed. And they then, out of this survival state, cling to very limited guidance, because that's all they're able to handle from their external environment in order to get through it. They're not able to communicate this often, and they have normalized this experience. AuDHD children are sitting in mainstream schools and they are in a state of disorganized overwhelm at all times, which then puts them into, as Dr. Joseph Delaney has spoken about often, adaptive stress states that in the long term will create enormous health problems, and also means that their output is disorganized and stressed and limited, and absolutely not a reflection of their natural intelligence. Now, I don't have statistics to back this up, but I can confidently say that most all children who are AuDHD in mainstream schooling currently are in this state. So, from where does the AuDHD child really learn, right? An AuDHD child placed in long-term survival mode will experience adaptive stress, which creates long-term health problems, long-term suppression of emotion, and disconnect between the body and the mind. In order to cope, they get mind-led. And if they're disconnected from their body, they don't have their natural sensors, their natural information, their natural authentic expression or awareness of themselves anymore. And all of their own power, all of their own ability, all of their own uniqueness gets divorced from them. And they're using their mind to survive. And they're really then very, very, very dependent on other people and on the overload of information that mainstream schooling gives them. So in order to survive, they are then dependent upon things that may be against their natural instinct, their natural authenticity, and also their natural expression. So they become sort of only a fragment of themselves as a result of this. What I'm saying is really quite harsh today, but I'm just telling you the truth. Now, full health, well-being, and happiness are possible from the body-mind approach of connecting between the body and mind and allowing the child to inform their own process of learning. It's a spiral. So have a look at that image of a spiral there. Do you see it? Right? So the spiral is really beautiful. And the spiral kind of gives us an indication of what it is to be a healthy AuDHD child learning. Okay. And it's really, really beautiful because it shows us that the center point of the child is where learning comes from. It doesn't come from externally outward, it comes from within them. And when we see all of these four facets active around a child or within a child, that's them in a learning state. Okay, so have a look at those things. The emotions, the evolving interest, enthusiasm, and the environment, all of those things are the natural teachers of an AuDHD child, right? Their learning process is about interactivity with those four things. Those four things are teaching the child at all times about themselves and equally about the world, their place in it, the meaning that things develop, the relationship that they have to things, and it's multifaceted, multi-layered learning. It has many dimensions to it. When we teach from a top-down perspective in traditional classrooms, we give them one-dimensional forms of learning. And those one-dimensional forms are in direct opposition to the AuDHD experience internally. The AuDHD child is multifaceted and is taking on multiple streams of information at all times. And we try and force them to go down that very fragmented, very limited, very narrow route of learning. Their body goes into distress, obviously. Right? Obviously, it just seems really logical, doesn't it, when you put it like that? So input is at their pace from multiple natural streams, and their teachers are environment, emotion, enthusiasm, and evolving interest, where subjects are embedded in living experience. When I speak of living experience, I mean in the schools that are designed for an AuDHD child, we give them experiences that have multimodal and multimedia facets. We allow them to access choice and preference within those experiences, and they take on autonomous roles and challenges based on their preferences at the time, because we naturally trust the inherent workings within the child and we naturally trust their choices because they have more information about themselves at any given moment than we do. So the different forms of intelligence, let's talk about that. So Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences supports the body, mind, and spiral process of learning, where we draw out a multifaceted experience for a child, which allows them to discover themselves. The brain is actively designed to learn this way. Segregated subjects and top-down approaches are too overwhelming and suppress latent, unexpressed abilities within the child. The theory, however, speaks of 9 intelligences. When speaking of the AuDHD child, there is a 10th. I will talk about that in a second. But just to rehash some of the important points here, evolving interest is intelligence emerging. It is not put in, it's drawn out. So when we speak of evolving interest as a teacher, this is the part that we as facilitators of their learning will observe inside of Sincerity Schools. And I say multiple because I intend to open multiple, right? And inside of those schools, we are watching for the evolving interest, because when there is a special interest or a predominant focus upon a certain subject, it is information for us on how that child is designed and what they're naturally acclimatized towards. Okay? It's something inside them that has many facets to it that may surprise us later down the line if we simply give them the right environment to draw it out. So Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, I want to go over some of these a bit, right? So the AuDHD child is perfectly designed due to their reality already to hone, master, and create from multiple intelligences. The streams of information they receive are already in multiples all day long. And imagine that. They really are, right? And due to everyday experiences feeling new, right? So every day feels new, even toothbrushing, which I talked about in previous videos. Their information interpretation is always fresh and unexpected. Their means of development and evolution uses all of these intelligences at once, and they need the room to experience them all. And I want to tell you something. These short-term memory problems that an AuDHD child experiences are not a problem when it comes to learning this way. If we can learn to trust that what they have forgotten needs to be forgotten and what they remember will be remembered, if indeed it is necessary to what is being drawn out of them. If we can trust that process, it works in their favor, right? So trying to force them into rote memorization of certain things is not helpful. And the way that they learn is not linear. So where they may touch upon certain things and it seems like they've forgotten stuff across a short period of time, in the long term, they'll have accumulated multiple amounts of information. We've misinterpreted this, the concept of slow processing. They might slow process, but what happens with an AuDHD child is information they get given on a Monday. By the time they remember it on a Friday, they remember it alongside multiple other layers of understanding. It's just slower integration of more. Okay, so bodily kinesthetic learning, which is whole body smart, hands-on, acting out in theatre, right? Love that one, right? Logical mathematical intelligence, which is logic and number smart, calculations and categorizations, Socratic questioning, and heuristics. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, the logical mathematical mindset is one that we anticipate from the AuDHD child when they're in survival mode. It is also what we expect from top-down education, right? Logical mathematical pattern-driven, right, is a form of intelligence that is dependent upon fact and unmoving information. True intelligence and learning is new information that is constantly adaptive, right? It's natural organic information that way. This logical mathematical mindset is from a place of limitation and suggests a nervous system that is not regulated or healthy. Now, musical. Existential, deep question, smart, philosophical thinking. Intrapersonal, right, knows about personal connection and relationship. Interpersonal, right, people, stimulations, cooperative groups and games, right? Or interpersonal is about themselves, interpersonal is about others, right, which we've talked about before. Visual spatial, right, intelligence. Naturalistic intelligence. Verbal linguistic intelligence. Do you see how many forms of intelligence there are? Currently, mainstream schools focus on logical mathematical. And is it any wonder, right, that the AuDHD child who has kind of funnels for all of these in constancy gets either very bored, or very sad, or very stressed? They have access to all of these at all times. And it takes longer to develop them all, but it's because they are integrating in constancy at all times, much like a flower with its petals. All part of a biological network of knowledge. Okay, so what's the 10th intelligence then, Janine? So let's go back to the body-mind connection, self, others, and the world. When we have started to establish this in full health with an education system that is not systemic, but rather naturalistic and holistic, the child is learning naturally from within oneself, and we facilitate that rather than dictate it. So by understanding that learning happens inside, for and through the child, so too does the experience of discovering their core abilities. We provide and support what emerges. Each child is designed to fit a number of types of intelligence. So there will be certain strengths inside of that variance that I listed before. So the child is multifaceted already, naturally, but they will have coherence and resonance with certain forms, and you'll see these strengths emerge through a multi-layered, multi-experience learning process. The 10th intelligence is the emergent and not yet documented merging of all of these into full form. It's the evolved AuDHD child in their uniqueness, which means we do not shape them, they emerge and blossom from within themselves. So these statements start of from within themselves, they grow, from within themselves, they know, from within themselves, they glow. Now, because this is opposite to everything we've learnt, with Sincerity School, the intention is that all these staff and teachers will learn these terms for themselves. And every time they go to control a child's experience or try and direct it in any way, they'll repeat those three phrases. Just for themselves, because we need that. I need that with my son, right? I need that with him. He knows himself really well, right? And he is a natural director of his experience, and he is also the expert. And I need to step back as much as possible with him, unless he happens to be crashing into me and giving me a headbutt, which he did yesterday. So each child has a gift, ability, or interest that is entirely theirs. And we need to encourage their emergence, not dictate it. It is unique to them. It happens when we let them choose what and how they best learn. Take in that image for one more time. A flower inside of a star. Connection to the world is easy when a child is allowed fully to be who they are and determine who they are from the center of them, not influenced by anything else except their own nature, which is already perfect and always has been. Goodbye from me and my enormously embarrassing jumper. I hope you have a lovely day.